righty. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. It is 7:30, so I'm going to begin by giving you a little overview of what to expect this evening, and then we're going to move right into hearing from our village candidates. On behalf of our chairwoman, Thomasina Laidley Brown, and the entire Ossining Democratic Committee, we are very pleased to welcome you here this evening for what is a little bit of a different format for our meeting. This is a webinar, and we are hearing tonight from candidates in our assembly race and our village races, which are uncontested, and a town council race, which is unexpected. It's filling a vacancy, an unexpected vacancy. And I am going to give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect for this evening. And as soon as I finish speaking, I'm going to drop it in the chat so you can refer to it. We just did our selection of the order of candidates for their opening remarks. I will drop that list in the chat as well. And what we'll start with the order that as it was picked randomly thank you very much to Lily Quesada for doing that for us. She put the names in a bowl in a basket for the assembly candidates and then the town council candidates. And that will be the order that they will provide their opening remarks. Then we will rotate through the order for each of the 4 questions for each race. And then we will do the reverse order for the closing remarks. All of this information was provided to the candidates and to the district leaders and other folks who receive our email in advance. The plan for the evening is, as soon as I complete this welcome and overview, you're going to hear from the candidate for village mayor and trustees. They are all running for re-election. They will each have 3 minutes to speak with you about why they are seeking re-election. And then we will move right on to the assembly candidates. And they have been provided with information about the basic topics of the questions. And then we will move on to the town council candidates. Each of those races are contested, and there will be 4 questions for each of the races. Thank you to all of the district leaders who contributed suggested questions. They were very helpful as the Q&A planning committee used them to come up with the eventual questions that you're going to hear tonight. 4 questions for each of the races. And those questions are going to be presented to you by a bunch of different district leaders. So thank you very much to the district leaders who are reading those questions. I've heard from a couple of you that wanted me to resend the question to you. If you are a district leader who agreed to ask one of the questions and you don't know where it is, please just put something in the chat or shoot me a text and I will resend it to you. The timekeeper for this evening is Eric Garrity. He's one of the members of our planning committee. Thank you very much, Eric. He has a timer that he will be putting up on the screen at the end of whatever village remarks. 1.5 minutes for opening statements in the assembly and town council races. 1 minute for statements. And at the end of the time, you'll hear the little alarm that you hear. And I will say thank you. I will say thank you very much. And then Christina will mute you. And the reason for that is we want to just not only keep things moving, we have a lot of wonderful candidates to hear from, but to make sure that everyone has the same opportunity to be able to speak for a fair amount of time, an equal amount of time. We encourage candidates to keep their screens on gallery view to make sure that you can see Eric so that you can see him as a timekeeper. That will be helpful for you. The people that you will all see on the screen, because this is in the webinar format, is the folks from the planning committee, Christina, Eric, myself, and all of the folks who are asking questions for each session. And in a moment, Christina, go ahead and bring on the village candidates. We have our current mayor, Rika Levin, trustee, Dana White, trustee, Manuel Quesada. They are all seeking re-election. There is a lag time as folks come over. There's Rika. And in just a moment, we will go in order of mayor, then we'll do alphabetical for the trustees. So it'll be Rika, Manny, and Dana. Alrighty.
Are we all on, Victoria?
I'm sorry?
Or just me?
Can you see everyone, Rika?
I'm on, Rika.
You may want to put it in gallery view so you can see everyone.
No, it's okay. Victoria, do you mind if Dana goes, then Manny, then me?
I guess it doesn't really matter since you're uncontested, but generally we have been, for the other races, it matters. For this one, not so much.
Right. We're running as a slate. We just discussed it earlier, so that's okay.
I'm not going to be particular about it for this race. Alrighty. Dana, are you ready? Everyone else is going to mute, and then Eric will begin your 3 minutes.
Hi, everybody. I've just written some thoughts down. 2 years ago, I asked for your endorsement for village trustee. You gave it, and for that, I'm grateful. Today, I'm back to ask for the same consideration. This past year has been a massive learning experience and an opportunity not only to be a voting member of the conversation, but to grow as a person. I often operated outside my comfort zone, but that's the nice thing about comfort zones. They have flexible boundaries that expand when pushed. As far as I can tell, there is no manual for new electeds. There is no village trustee for dummies. You learn on the job. I'd like to thank my fellow trustees and the mayor for supporting me through this process, as well as our extremely capable village staff. So what have I learned in the past year? First, you have to show up. Taking the time to attend vigils and street sign namings and rallies, especially when they're outside, is not only emotionally satisfying, it shows people that you care about the same things they do. I don't think the residents of the village expect us to solve every problem immediately, at least I hope not, unless it's potholes. But I do like to know that we're listening, but they do like to know that we're listening and that we hear them and we see them. Admittedly, I don't have a full-time job, so I have lots of time to show up. I've also learned that fairness must rule above all. In a diverse village with such a broad range of cultures, incomes, and needs, all laws must be applied equally. As a journalist, I am trained to look at both sides of a situation and explore the gray areas, to think independently and objectively, and I apply this approach to every issue in front of me. I have learned a lot. I have learned that I have a lot to learn. As a trustee, I've sat on many different committees, and all the members of these groups have taught me a lot, and I look forward to learning even more. As village historian, I made an effort to hear people's stories regardless of their politics, and I try hard to keep those bridges standing. I've approached this position as a collaborator. When I raised my hand 2 years ago, I knew I could be helpful. My participation in the DRI video played to my strengths as a communicator and storyteller. I was thrilled to be part of the team that won that $10 million grant, and I'd like the chance to continue being helpful. This process must be open, it must be equitable. We spend too much time trying to correct past decisions that have had frustrating long-term outcomes. Let's get this right. This is an exciting time. In asking for your endorsement, I'm asking you to endorse our entire slate, including Mayor Rika Levin and are good for Ossining. Let's keep the momentum going.
Thank you. I believe, Manuel, you were going to go next. Go right ahead, please.
Thank you, Victoria. Dana, thank you. You said everything that I wanted to say. You stole all my ideas. Appreciate that. As Dana just mentioned 2 years ago, reminds me a little bit of, I started my career, I guess, as a voluntary position many years ago. Then I fell in love with how do I help my village? How do I help my community? It's been over 10 years now that I started my journey on public servant. I'm here humble again to ask for your endorsement to continue doing the work that many of my colleagues did this several years ago. And I think the fruit of all the hard work that we established is paying off now. As you heard a little bit of Dana, we have the $10 million that we had fought a lot for many years. And I think we are now the time that actually the state has recognized that the village of Ossining is worth of $10 million and more. So I'm asking you to please allow me to keep doing the work that many boards past started to accomplish the goals to see a better Austin. There's a lot of things that I think I would like to keep accomplishing with the help of my colleagues. Dana brings a well-known of history of our village. And I learned from Dana a lot more than she can. I don't know if she can imagine that I have learned a lot from her every time, a few times that we talked. So, Rika, the mayor, current mayor now, Rika Levitt, thank you for all the support that you have done for us. I think I'm grateful to be serving with you this time around. So I'm asking for us to keep helping our village. So I'm asking you again humbly to endorse us going forward as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Manny. Rika, your turn. Rika, we cannot hear you. Hold on one second. Eric, can you reset the timer?
I got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. As was said already, we are running as a slate. I am honored to be running with Dana White, Manuel Quesada, and I too am looking for the endorsement by the Democratic Party to once again be entrusted with being part of a great team. And I look at all of my colleagues on this board as a team that wants to accomplish the greater good for the community. This first year as mayor has been nothing short of an honor. I didn't know what to expect after serving as trustee for just north of 5 years. I thought it would just be the next level up from being a trustee, but in fact, it's been a whole major learning experience, one of which is to really reach out beyond the village, whether it's to the town, the county, our assembly, our senator, etc. I am just thrilled with the work that we have coming ahead of us. I hope to be endorsed to continue the great work. The DRI was already mentioned. It's 14 major, I think, life-changing initiatives for the village, but mostly for the people of the village, not just the corporation of the village. But I've said this over and over again at almost every meeting. We're really not about just infrastructure. We're about enhancing the lives of the people who live in this village, the people who live here today, the people who are going to live here in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I also want to make sure to thank my entire board. I don't know the last time that the entire board supported each other to this extent, but I have the endorsement of all of the 4 trustees to continue being mayor, and I hope I get the party to do the same, as well as endorsement by Senator Reichlin Melnick, Assemblywoman Sandy Galoff, the chair of our county legislator, Catherine Borgia, and County Executive George Latimer. Flattered, I think it's a vote of confidence for the whole board, because I've always said, and I believe that teams always accomplish more than any single individual. That's also why I wanted to go last. I really think that all of us really add the strength that is needed. And that includes Trustee Fritchie and Trustee Lopez. We have accomplished a lot together this year. I hope that we will be putting more in writing, not only the DRI, but the Youth Bureau, the Police Reform Council, and many other things that we are looking to do. I encourage everyone on this call, whether you're a district leader or not, to please contact me. I plan to reach out to all of you. I've already reached out to some of you. I would very much like your endorsement. I'm honored and hope to continue to do the work we're doing as the mayor for the next election. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Christina, if you could please move our village candidates to be attendees and bring on over all of the assembly candidates, which there are 3 who are able to join us. We're very sorry that Colin Smith is not able to join us. We have a conflict with the Board of Legislators meeting tonight. He did send some words that he will share with us. And Christina, just to remind you, the district leaders who are asking questions for the assembly candidate round are yourself, John Freed, Susie Ross, and Holly Perlowitz. Vanessa, could you pronounce your last name for me?
Agudelo.
Thank you. All right, very good. So I see the candidates. We'll just wait till the folks who are asking the questions are all moved over, and then we'll get started. Does anybody have any questions about the procedure? Everybody got their emails and it made sense? Great, thanks very much. We're really pleased to have you here tonight. All right, I see
Just,
Holly. I see Christina. If anyone doesn't show up, then I will fill in.
I'm just looking for Susie. Susie, do you have a name that maybe it's not coming up, or a phone number?
Okay.
I
don't see Susie either. It's okay. Let's do
So, Victoria, if you could ask the question. Or...
I will ask Susie's question.
Great. I'll keep an eye out.
Alrighty. All right. So to remind everyone, the assembly candidates are going to have 1.5 minutes to do opening remarks. And then we will ask 4 questions. After asking each question, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. And then we'll have 1 minute for closing statements. If there's any one of the 4 questions that a candidate wants to be able to go back and speak about to rebut for 1 more minute, you can do that once. There are 4 questions. So if you get to the 4th question and you didn't get a chance to say something more, then that can be your 1 minute if you want. Otherwise, there's no need to use that one question, that extra minute. We've got plenty of fun things to hear from folks tonight. And Eric will be keeping the time. At the end of your time, you'll hear the alarm go off. And then if you're still talking, I'll say thank you. I'll say thank you very much. And then Christina will mute you and we'll move on to the next person. Alrighty, the order was selected this evening just before the meeting. We did it on camera and we were very pleased to have Lily Quesada assist us by randomly selecting the names. Oh, terrific. I see that all of our panelists are here to ask questions. Wonderful. Colin was the first name picked, but Colin's not able to be with us. So Andre is going to go first, and then Dana Levenberg, and then Vanessa Godella. And after that, the first question, Andre will move to the bottom. We'll have Dana, Vanessa, Andre, and then we'll just keep going through. You'll know who you go after, and we'll try to keep it straight. At the end, we'll reverse it, and it'll be Vanessa, Dana, Andre. Okay, thank you very much. All right, who is asking our first question? Christina, that's you. Oh, and you may always ask to have the question repeated.
Should I just
Everyone.
start with,
I'm jumping into questions and we didn't do
opening
the statements.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for these questions, but I'm actually more excited to hear from you. Eric, you ready with 1.5 minutes? And then we will hear from Andre Rainey.
Thank you. All right, so good evening, Assini Democrats. My name is Andre Rainey, and I'll begin by thanking Assemblywoman Galen for her decades of public service and activism. Her dedication to advancing public education and addressing environmental issues has inspired me. I served as the mayor of Peekskill from 2018 to 2022, and I've learned the concerns of the community very well. I work with leaders like Senator Harcum, George Latimer, and many other individuals who do so much to push for change. I know firsthand this district's need for affordable housing as a person that grew up in public housing in Store Gardens in Peekskill, New York. That's why I wasted no time once I was in office to advance an aggressive affordable housing agenda for the city of Peekskill. And I saw the need for repair between our communities of color and our police, so I put that plan into action. It started back with building trust. We diversified our police force and city government so it reflects the community in which it serves. We poured resources into our after-school programming and our youth development because I believe that New York must guarantee affordable housing and education in every community across the state. I'm a single father with 3 kids, Xylon, Zanaya, and Zenaida, who I love dearly, and every day begins with dropping them off at daycare and school. While there's been so much progress made on public schools, progress that got me quality education, I do not believe that our lawmakers should ever sit back and relax. I see a future where public schools continue that process, hiring more social workers, guaranteeing healthy meals, creating programs that teach our children to think critically and prepare them for the modern world. We need to think holistically about education. The days of teaching to a standardized test are numbered. I will listen to teachers and unions and take their needs into consideration. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much. Next up, we will have Dana Levenberg. Hold on, Dana's sound is
Sorry
Dana's
about that.
muted. Now
Okay,
that Dana's unmuted, are you ready, Eric? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. So thank you so much to Thomasina Lately Brown and the Austin Dems for hosting this event tonight. Most of you know me very well, so I am going to talk about what I can do as your next state assemblywoman. Having lived here with my husband, Stephen, for 25 years and raising our two children, Caleb and Eli, who both went through all the public schools, I have a deep understanding of our community's needs on a personal level. My service on the school board, working with parents and educators, fighting for foundation aid, working on constituent services for Sandy Galiff, helping people, as well as leading the town of Ossining, has given me a perspective and experience as a municipal and community leader. I know what it takes to build a budget that will serve the 95th Assembly District and what that means for our schools, our local businesses, our infrastructure, as well as the legislation needed to sustain our natural resources, the beautiful Hudson River, our housing stock, and protect the rights of women, people of color, LGBTQ+ rights, and the underserved and under-resourced. You can and you must expect a true leader who responds effectively to crises like COVID, hurricanes, and tropical storms to help every resident, who promotes environmental sustainability, equity, and prosperity, and who supports the rights of our children to a free, quality education. You can and you must expect your assemblywoman to promote affordable healthcare, affordable housing, and transformative economic projects that help our small local businesses. Working together with all those in our communities, as I have done, I'll be that leader for you in Albany.
Thank you very much. All righty. Next, Vanessa, you're up. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa Godella. You share they pronouns. Really excited to be here in front of you all. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a lifelong Peekskill resident, born and raised here in Westchester County. And a little fun fact, my connection to Ossining is that for the first 4 years of my life, I lived right here with my parents in a very small studio apartment because at the time that was all that my parents could afford. And this financial hardship has been kind of a running theme in my family, where I really grew up in a blue collar household, watching my father work 17-hour work days. My mother to this day is still a domestic worker. And I realized really quickly that despite a lot of sacrifices, a lot of hard work, and the best of intentions to wanting to provide opportunities for your family, that families across, families very much like mine were still having a hard time keeping their heads above water. And unfortunately, this is a reality that still so many families in our district are facing today, so many families across the state. And these conditions have only been exacerbated during the pandemic. And this is during a time where we're facing massive evictions and foreclosures. Our neighborhoods are changing overnight due to a very unstable housing market. Parents are forced to work remotely, and are essential workers on the front lines with no other viable choice and being given very little access to our safety nets with very little to show. So that's why I'm running for a state assembly to ensure that we're guaranteeing housing for all as a right, to fully fund our schools, to set up a healthcare system free of barriers, and to ensure that
Thank
we're
you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, now we're going to move in. Now we're moving into the question portion. And Christina, you are up first. The order for answering this question, this time we will begin with Dana Levenberg, then Vanessa Godella, and then Andre Rainey.
Hi, everyone. What plans do you have for a proactive response to COVID-19? Please expand on what the state can do in this capacity regarding distribution of tests and masks, vaccine and mask mandates, and help for small businesses.
So we have been partnering with the state and through the county to get masks and testing out to everybody in our local communities. And I know that the state can continue to do more, especially with the help of the federal government. We partner with, especially also with our not-for-profits, to make sure that under-resourced get what they need in a way that makes, distributes the resources equitably and fairly. I will continue to make sure that that we help support organizations like OVAC, which have been instrumental in getting vaccines into homes and getting vaccines into arms, and also making sure that we are as safe as we can by partnering with the school district and by partnering with municipalities, just as the state has done to date. And we're going to continue to make sure that there's money for eviction prevention, as well as money to support our local businesses. And really it is about funding and getting communications out.
Thank you. Next up is Vanessa.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question one more time?
Sure thing. What plans do you have for a proactive response to COVID-19? Please expand on what the state can do in this capacity regarding distribution of tests and masks, vaccine and mask mandates, and help for small businesses.
Thank you. So for the last 3.5 years, I've been working with the New York Immigration Coalition as their Hudson Valley Manager of Member Engagement with our members across the Hudson Valley, members such as Neighbors Link, who's very active in Ossining. And we've been working together to really bridge the gap and disparities that currently exist among our community members, especially in our Black and Brown communities, folks who have not gotten their first vaccine, who have not gotten their booster, and who quite frankly don't have the access to healthcare to be able to deal with some of the long-standing issues that have come about from having COVID and being able to recover. So I do think that this is a healthcare issue. I think that this is an issue regarding equity, language access. I think that we as a state need to take a look at this much more closely. We need to make sure that we're bridging the gaps in equity to make sure that our communities across the board not only have access to these resources, but understand the importance of it and that we're meeting them where they're at. We can't expect everyone to be at the same level of understanding. So we really need to do the work to bridge that gap. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next, Andre Rainey.
Yes, thanks for the question, Christina. I agree with both of what my colleagues on the line said. It's focusing on the relationships with the state and making sure that we have what we need for our communities. The city of Peekskill, fortunately, was one of the first cities to provide a testing site during this pandemic. And I also visited the hospital to hear from the nurses and their concerns about hazard pay and some of the issues that they face as people who are actually taking care of these people that are getting sick from this crazy pandemic that we've been facing. So on the state level, we can also focus on everything that they mentioned, as well as certain things like hazard pay and what we're going to do for those who are on the front lines of this every single day, missing their families, missing their friends, missing their relatives, and so on and so forth. I think it's been one of the most challenging parts for me was the mental health side of this. I don't think people realize how much of an impact this pandemic has had on them, to the point where when this pandemic is somewhat controlled and we have the mask mandates still going, when it's somewhat controlled and people are able to go outside and be free again, I think that's when we're going to start to see the impact that it's really had on some of these people that are stuck in the house right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All righty. Next, we're going to move on to question 2. And that is going to be delivered by John Freed. Oh, and I should remind everyone, this question, Vanessa Godella is going to answer first, followed by Andre Rainey, and then Dana Levenberg.
My question is, there's debate in the state as to whether there should be criminal justice reform. And the question is, but before you answer the question, there are 2 words in the question that I think need to be defined so that everybody is answering the same question. So the question posed is, what are your thoughts on parole reform and bail reform? Now, parole reform.
John, please let them just take their own understanding of it.
Well, there are 51 other people on this video who may not know the difference between parole reform and bail reform.
But they'll have to make their own judgment based on what they hear from the candidates.
All right.
Thank you.
That's the question.
Yes, so I am absolutely in support of parole reform as well as bail reform. I do not think that we should be rolling back the bail reform that we've been able to move forward on a state level these last couple of years. I'm actually a founding member of the Decarcerate the Hudson Valley Coalition that has formed outside of the bail reform fight here in the Hudson Valley as an organizer myself, and have been organizing with a number of organizations across the region to push for policies such as fair and timely parole, elder parole, clean slate, post-conviction relief, as well as a number of other issues pertaining to criminal justice. In terms of bail reform, I think that we as leaders have a lot of work to do to educate the public. I think that there's a lot of awareness that needs to be done because right now there is a narrative in which we are essentially saying we're essentially criminalizing poor people because by saying that we need to roll back bail reform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Andre, you're next.
Thank you. Thanks for the question, Mr. Freed. You know, in the city of Peekskill, you know, I brought this program to the city of Peekskill called the Empower You program, and it was a second chance program, you know, where we give innocent people an opportunity to work and get a job. You know, we help them with resume building, you know, bail reform, parole reform, I believe is the way you worded it. You know, I had to do a little more research on the parole reform for sure. But I'm in support of the bail reform. I also believe as leaders, it's our responsibility to make sure that we keep our cities and communities safe. I think the safety in our communities is always going to be a primary focus, especially of mine. But I am a firm believer in the second chance program. I am a firm believer in making sure innocent people get the opportunity of life that they missed out. And I certainly believe that anyone who commits the crime should do the time. So, you know, keeping our cities and communities safe is always going to be a priority of ours. And that's one of the reasons why when I first got in office, we hired a new chief to give a new direction to our community, to diversify our police department so people can feel safe in the city of Peekskill.
Thank you very much. Dana, you're next.
Okay, can you repeat the questions? Because I just want to make sure I'm addressing the question.
What are your thoughts on parole reform and bail reform?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I am also in favor of both of these and definitely in favor of elder reform as well as bail reform. I know that there have been those seeking rollbacks for bail reform, and I think as my colleague and my another candidate suggested, that we need more education to really make these changes work in our communities. I absolutely believe in rehabilitation. I've been very involved in, I know it sounds like a odd thing, but the Sing Sing Prison Museum project has been focused on criminal justice and criminal justice education and reform. And through my work on that, I've gotten to know Hudson Link as well as rehabilitation through the arts. And I know what incredible work rehabilitation in the prison does for reducing recidivism and dropping it down to very, very low rates. And that's what we want to do. And we have 95% of the men that come out of Sing Sing, we want them to be successful when they come out.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on to question number 3. And Susie, you are going to deliver question number 3. The first person who's going to answer this time is going to be Andre, followed by Dana, followed by Vanessa.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, everyone. This is my question. Indian Point is being decommissioned. Fossil fuel prices are increasing. New York State has set some of the most aggressive renewable energy goals in the country. What do you think are the most important things the New York Assembly can do to improve our energy future?
Thank you, Susie, for the question. There's so many answers that we can start off with this. You know, climate change, I believe that New York can lead the way in climate change. You know, I believe that New York, especially when it comes to speaking of Indian Point is in our backyard. And, you know, I was in support of the decommissioning of Indian Point. And, you know, I believe that as an elected official, as an assemblyman, especially here in the state of New York, providing, you know, educational materials. There's a lot of people who are really trying to fight for climate change and fight for the necessary changes for us to lead the way. But there are a lot of people that I don't think are being involved or even educated on what we need to do as a community. You know, there's a lot of people who look like me. Before I got elected into office, I couldn't tell you anything about climate change. I couldn't even tell you anything about Indian Point, and I lived right there until I got involved, until I got in office. So now, as an assembly person, my job is not only going to be to continue to push the stuff that Assemblywoman Gaylor had pushed, but also to educate those who just aren't fully aware and aren't involved as much as they should be.
Thank you. All right, next is Dana.
So sustainability has been at the forefront of all of the work that I've done, certainly during my tenure as town supervisor. I've been on the board of Sustainable Westchester, so I have my ear to the ground about what the next best thing is to do, I'm going to continue to fight for funding because that is number one, what we need. And we need to get to a green energy future and also a green economy. And we know that as we provide opportunities that we start to push demand, like introducing electric vehicle charging stations in the town and in our town parks and having access to them has pushed people to buy electric vehicles. So we want to continue to do everything we can to promote it, make it easier for people, make it more affordable for people to shift to that green economy, to change the way that they heat their homes, to change the way that they, what they do with their food scraps, to change what cars they drive, and to also reduce what waste we can and to get off of fossil fuels. So we're going to continue to promote that. And when I get to
Thank you
this,
very much. Alrighty, next we'll have our final question for this race, and it's going to be delivered.
I think Vanessa didn't
What about me?
Oh, Vanessa, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No,
Yes, I
no
very
worries.
much want to hear what you have to say. I was jumping the gun. Vanessa.
And I was
it's your
very
turn.
excited to answer this question because like Dana, this is an issue that really kind of hits home for me. I come from the environmental justice movement, and prior to being the youngest elected on the Peekskill City Council, I was appointed on the Conservation Advisory Board and have been part of many efforts across Westchester County to make sure that we're pushing cutting edge green policy. And it's been over 2 years since New York has passed this very significant legislation that's been addressing crisis. And I think it's time that we, as a legislature, finally fulfill the promises that were put forth in the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, as well as take bold action in as soon as possible. And there's a number of pieces of legislation that have already been introduced that will enable us to get towards those climate goals. And working with a number of environmental groups, I've been able to be aware of these. These include the Climate and Community Investment Act, which would create a new authority funded by the polluter penalty fee to pay a fund to large-scale investments and provide grants to community organizations. The Energy Efficiency, Equity, and Jobs Act, which would require the Public Service Commission to provide job training funds.
Vanessa. Thank you.
you.
All right, and now I'm on point. We're going to go to the fourth question in this part of the session, and Dana, you will be the first person who gets to answer it, followed by Vanessa, and then followed by Andre. And it's going to be delivered by Holly Prolowitz.
Good evening, everybody. My question is, what are the 3 most important issues you will prioritize as an assembly member?
sorry about that. Sorry about that. I thought I was unmuted, then I muted. Anyway, you ready?
Ready?
Okay, here we go. So my top priority has always been to build healthy communities. And that means in terms of sustainability and resilience in the face of climate change, in terms of equity and access to resources, whether it's education or healthcare, and prosperity, making sure we have a solid economic footing on which to do that, and making sure that everybody can have a wonderful life here in the Hudson Valley and across New York State. So I will continue to prioritize building healthy communities and make sure that our rights are maintained and preserved, and we all have access to the resources that we deserve and have a right to.
Thank you very much. Next up is Vanessa.
Thank you so much. Yes, no, I think given the crises that we are kind of at the intersection of after the pandemic, or really in the midst of the pandemic, a healthcare crisis, a housing crisis, and an economic crisis, I think the 3 pressing issues that this district is facing is housing, healthcare, and jobs for the future. I think that we need to be fighting to ensure that we're pushing for the best tenant protections as we see market rates, prices skyrocketing, ensuring that we're building and putting funding sources towards to build new permanent affordable housing, as well as turning current development into affordable housing in the future. We need to make sure that we're not providing, that there are no longer any barriers to healthcare, to ensure that folks are receiving the services that they need. And we need to make sure that we're building jobs for the future, jobs in an industry that's made to last. This is a place where this green investment we want our city or our state to put forth can really make a difference here in our district.
Thank you very much. And Andre.
Thank you, Holly. three of my top priorities. First has been and probably always will be youth and education. I stand firm in fighting for the next generation. I feel like if I can provide the next generation with the proper utensils that they need, they won't have to fight as hard as we have to fight right now. And I also helped to secure a Boys and Girls Club in the city of Peekskill. And that was one of the things that I set out to do that I promised that I actually accomplished. So I'm excited about that. Climate change is also obviously a second one because of so much that I've learned about it. And I'm still learning about it. But the understanding of it is just, it's scary for those who don't understand it. But again, it's not only talking about it and creating legislation, but it's making more awareness to people who just don't seem to care or have a concern about it. And lastly, it's just, affordable housing, quality of life. I think that, all of the things umbrella under affordable housing, from healthcare to, your city streets, everything has an impact on how you think, how you eat, how you live. If you can live comfortably, have a well-paying job, then I think we'll all be okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you all very much. That's everyone. I got everyone in the final question, right? And now we're just going to go to our closing remarks. So everyone has 1 minute for closing remarks. And now we're going to really confuse things. You've gotten used to who you go after, and we're going to flip it around. So now we're going backwards from where we started. Vanessa will begin, and then Dana, and then Andre. Everyone has 1 minute to tell us whatever your final thoughts are that you want the Ossining district leaders to hear.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Yes, and thank you all so much for all your time. As I mentioned, I think that my work as an advocate for the last 4 years, working with New York Immigration Coalition, but also as a local elected for the Peekskill City Council, has really given me a front seat view to the many issues that our families are facing, but also has given me quite a faith in collective action, something that I'm very much a believer in. I do believe that our changes need to happen from the bottom up, and as the housing, healthcare, and economic climate crises continue to wreak havoc on our communities, we know that working class families are being left behind across the Hudson Valley, and we need to bring folks along, and not only just bring them to the table, but make sure that they're a part of the leading voices who are crafting these policies, which is very much the approach that I've taken as an organizer, as an advocate. We must take on the climate crisis by ending Albany's inertia on climate and investing billions in equitable recovery. And I'm ready to represent Northern Westchester and Putnam County by championing a resilient where everyone can live with dignity and thrive.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. All right, next, Dana.
Thank you all for your thoughtful questions tonight. As your Assemblywoman, I will listen to the concerns of the people I serve, as I have done, and respond to the needs of our communities in ways that will impact people's real lives. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. Most importantly, the topics we discussed tonight as we continue to respond to the COVID-19 crisis, address our flawed criminal justice system, and seek solutions to ensure renewable energy in the long run as we build resilience to our changing climate. I will continue the good work I have done for the town of Ossining, the Ossining School District, and the 95th Assembly District. My boots on the ground experience at multiple levels of government positions me best to serve everyone in this district. Again, I hope I can count on your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. And Andre?
1 minute to change the world. Here we go. All right, with the support, trust, and the positivity of many people in my life, I've been able to take part in changing Peekskill for the better. For this campaign, I draw on my own experiences navigating life here. I know that many in this community still have unmet needs for housing, healthcare, and even food. The 95th district is a district that demands new energy, new passion. To do all of these things, to deliver for the people in this district, your nominee must be someone who will work to organize the district. We must engage in new voters and do the necessary outreach. And I'll canvass in neighborhoods where people have never seen leaders knock on their door. I will work to support local candidates for office because change starts from the bottom. I will bring attention to the issues that our constituents want to face head on. And after serving the city of Peekskill for 6 years, 4 as mayor, 2 as council, I feel it's part of my family. I believe that as I run outreach into Ossining, Cortland, and every corner of this district, I will learn much from you, and you'll hopefully learn much from me. Thank you, and I hope to earn your support this primary.
Thank you very much to all of the candidates for to become our new assembly member. We really enjoyed having you here. Thank you to all of the district leaders who contributed questions and all of you who participated in our panel tonight and asking questions. Christina, if you could please bring on over our town council candidates and the folks who are asking the questions. And yep, we'll say goodbye to the folks from the assembly candidate section of our meeting.
Bye, and thanks again.
Okay. I see everyone is so engaged in that last section. There was nothing in the chat for the entire time that the assembly candidates were asking or responding to questions. You're welcome, Vanessa. Happy to have you here. You're welcome, Andre. I see that Jen Fields-Tawil just gave us a little heads up. Her Wi-Fi is a little spotty. She's coming on over. Hopefully her audio will be clear, even if the video is frozen. And I'll just say, Jen, it wouldn't be ideal, but sometimes if you do find that you have a weak signal, sometimes turning your camera off can ensure that we are at least able to hear you. But let's hope you have good luck tonight. You're welcome, Dana. Thank you to all of the assembly candidates. It was a real pleasure having you. I hope that you found the questions thought-provoking and enjoyed the opportunity to speak with all of us in Ossining. And as folks there is a little lag as folks get brought over from the attendee Zoom room to the panelist Zoom room. I'll just remind folks that we are recording this. It will be up on the Ossining Town Democratic Committee YouTube channel. The Ossining Town Democratic Committee YouTube channel was just created. There's nothing on it yet. This will be the first exciting video that will be on our YouTube channel. So I'm seeing we have a lot of candidates. I see 5 of our candidates so far. And 2 of our question askers, 3 of our question askers. That's just got to be a better word than that. I'm going to wait until I don't see Bob yet. And who else? And I don't see Kemi yet. So as they come on over, oh, look at that. Magically, they appear. Momentarily. We had everyone. Kemi's not asking the first question, so if necessary, we could get started, but I'd love it if we could all be on. Kemi, are you able to put your camera on, or do you need to be off for a moment? I saw you, otherwise I wouldn't be putting you on the spot like that, Kemi. You were here. There you are. Okay, very good. All righty. So I'm going to remind everyone it is in the chat, but we do have the order that we will start. And because we have 6 candidates, we wanted to include everyone who is at all interested and who has expressed interest to town government. This is a very unusual timing for there to be both the it is an unusual timing for us to be both endorsing a candidate for town council at the same time that the town council is preparing to appoint a candidate to the vacancy. In recent memory, this has never happened before, so we're a bit in uncharted territory here. Also, for folks who aren't so familiar, is going to be on the ballot in November, and the answer to that is yes. It's a bit of a funny year with the redistricting map, but that is the plan. So with so many candidates, it will be a bit of a challenge, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that I don't lose track of any person who has asked a question, that I will help you stay in order because we're doing our best to be fair, but you've really challenged me with 6 people. So we pulled names out of a bucket. Thank you very much, Lily Quesada, for being our Vanna White for the evening. It was a very fair and transparent process. And we will begin with Caroline Curvin, then Robert Daraio, then Fawzia Afzal-Khan. I hope I did that as well as Lily did. She supposedly pronounced it perfectly. And then Barbara Robinson, Jennifer Fields-Tawil, and then Lynn Farrell. And then we will keep track of who you're after, and then you'll know when you're up next. We're gonna rotate through that. Caroline will do go first for the opening remarks, and then she'll be at the bottom of the list for question 1, and so on and so on. And then closing remarks, Lynn, you get to go first for closing remarks, and we'll go back up the list, and Caroline will get the last word. So Eric, are you ready with your 1.5 minute timer? You have 1.5 minutes for opening remarks. Caroline, followed by Robert Daraio.
Great, thanks. I hope you can all hear me. I'm Caroline Curvin, and I'm running for the vacant council seat on the Town of Ossining Board. My husband and I have been residents of the town since 2000, and I'm running because my skills and experience make me highly qualified for this position. And as someone who actually lives in the unincorporated town, I would also bring an on-the-ground perspective that can help formulate policies that will serve the town and its residents most effectively. I've been actively involved in the Ossining community in various ways. Both our children attended Ossining schools. I volunteered with many organizations over the years, including PTA, Scouts, Ossining Matters, and Ossining Prison Ministries. I've been a district leader since 2017, and I recently served on the Town Comprehensive Planning Committee. And thanks to that experience, I feel I have a granular understanding of many of the issues and opportunities that the town faces. My background is varied as well. I worked as a Broadway stage manager for many years. And about 10 years ago, I transitioned to college teaching and freelance writing. Because of this background, I'm very good at distilling information and explaining things in a coherent and understandable fashion. I'm also very comfortable with working with people in all settings and with those that have differing opinions. Finally, I'm running because I want to serve the people of the town of Ossining. I believe it's every citizen's responsibility to run for office if they can, to understand how democracy works at the grassroots level, and to help in a positive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Daraio, you're next.
Hi, I'm Bob Daraio. I've lived in Ossining with my wife, Gail, since 2000 as well. I've served 2 terms as a village trustee, and I'm currently serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Ossining. I'm also a volunteer fireman and a member of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. I do a lot of community service. I feel like it's my obligation to give back because this community has been so amazing to me. I think it's important that all sectors of the community are represented on the town board. We need people from the village, from the town outside, from the village of Briarcliff, people who live in private homes, people who live in condominiums. So, am I the right person this time? I'm not sure. Perhaps this spot needs to go to somebody who lives in the town outside in a condominium or someone from Briarcliff. However, I feel able, due to my long experience, I think I can represent everybody, regardless of not living in a condominium. I will find out what their needs are and represent them. I think that I can do a good job. It's important to continue doing this community service, and I look forward to your support. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, next up, we have Fawzia. 90 seconds. Fawzia, you're muted. Fawzia, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah.
Set the clock and
hello, good evening, everybody. Very nice to see so many faces that I don't know and I hope to get to know over the coming years. I'm a very long time resident of Ossining. I've been here about 33 years with my husband and our 2 children who are now grown, and one of them has given us grandchildren. So we go back a long time in the Ossining. In Ossining, my children went through the Ossining public school. So in the early years, when I could give some time, I did get involved with school events and volunteer to work on the various school committees, including the Ossining School District Ribbon Task Force with Paul Freed. But I have definitely the greenest and the least, involved a resume of other people here. So I'm very humbled to be in this group, but I bring a lot of experience from my work as a professor in New Jersey at Montclair State University, very committed to social justice education. I chaired our Women and Gender Studies department and brought sexuality studies into it to create equitable structures for our students. And I also founded the South Asian Feminist Collective of the largest National Women's Studies Association, the largest organization of women's studies. So I would bring some of that experience.
thank you. Thank you very much, Fawzia. Next up, Barbara Robinson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I feel honored to be here. Um, let me start off by saying that this is my first time ever running for any political office. So I'm excited about it. I just decided one day that I wanted to do more and give more to my community. Ossining has been great to me. I've been living here since the year 2000. And although I vote at every election, I decided I wanted to step forward and do whatever I can to support this community. That has been good to me. I currently work in the field of community and public service. Skills of engaging the community, networking, my ability to research and write proposals. I would like to just bring that all to this position. So I just asked for the endorsement of the Democratic Party, and thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jen Fields-Tawil. Jennifer.
Good evening. I've lived in the unincorporated area for about 18 years, a little more. I've been member of the Ossining Democratic Committee and a district leader for over 10 years. And those that know me know that when I get involved, I am all in. And I say that because from the moment I was a member of the committee, I began doing campaign literature blitzes and phone banking for all the candidates. I was getting involved in the annual fundraiser. I then became the chair of that fundraiser. I was chosen to be on the nominating committee, and then I was chosen to be the secretary on the executive board. And so some of you have seen me complete some of these tasks, and you know that I do it with a lot of driven determination. I work for Sandy Galliff in the district office here in Ossining, and I am the district office manager, and I was former director of communication. And I've been doing that for about 7 years. And that puts me in a very interesting position because I work with the constituents of Ossining, town, village, what have you, all day long. That is my main purpose. I answer the phones. Sometimes I'm a therapist. People call for all different reasons, and I take the time and have the patience to help them. If I don't have the answer, I research and collaborate. I have many, many different contacts that I've developed with all different levels of government. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Lynn Farrell.
Good evening, everybody. After listening to everyone else, I realize I'm less than a political newcomer here. I'm just a neophyte. I've always been involved in more localized work. I'm president of my condo association now, which is in the unincorporated area, and I'm a senior citizen. And I decided to get involved because I don't see Ossining as I saw it as a child. My grandparents used to take me over here in the late 50s. And it was a shopping destination. And now there's really nothing to bring people in here. My concern is primarily the economy and moving forward and trying to attract new businesses that will attract people here. Everyone thinks Mount Kisco is the Mecca of Northern Westchester. It doesn't have to be. I think we can direct the town of Ossining in that direction. And that's my primary concern. I've never held any political office other than within a condominium, but I've been involved in every condominium or co-op I've ever owned. And I work very well with people, and I too am a researcher, and I do a pretty good job of it most times. I would love to be able to serve on this particular board, and I think it would give an unseen before experience to this particular group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're now going to move on to our first question. Christina is going to ask the first question. And I will just remind folks that we are now rotating through that same order. And so Bob, you're going to be the first person to answer the question after Christina reads it, and then Fawzia, Jen, Fawzia, Barbara, Jen, Lynn, Caroline.
Hi, everyone. My question is, the town and village of Ossining recently voted to move forward with cannabis dispensaries, but not lounges. Are you in favor of dispensaries and lounges? How do you envision zoning laws related to cannabis legislation? Is it important for the town and village to work together on cannabis-related decisions?
Yes, I believe that the town and village need to work hand in hand and be on the same page. I fully support legalization of marijuana sales, but I don't know enough about the lounges and the impact to make a decision yet. I do know, though, that prohibition didn't work for alcohol, and it certainly hasn't worked for marijuana. But that being said, I think having it be legal is one thing, but having it be make destinations in the village and town to sit around and smoke the stuff might be problematic. But again, I don't have enough information to be sure, and I have an open mind about the future of it. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Fawzia, you're next. And I'll just remind everyone, if you ever want anyone to reread the question, we can.
I actually agree. My position is very, very similar to Bob's. And so I'm glad that that we passed the law to have dispensaries, but I do think that we should reconsider the idea of creating safe, clean spaces for the consumption of cannabis, so that the problems of racial injustice, economic injustice that have sort of attended in the past, this issue of consumption of cannabis or marijuana do not repeat themselves. And I was just thinking about how the state of New Jersey is, the governor did actually say that we should, that the state cannabis industry should right the wrongs, right, of the past as it concerns. And I think we can try to do the same here in Ossining.
Thank you, Fawzia. Barbara?
Well, the first thing I would say is that I definitely would need more information to answer the question fully. I'm open to hearing I'm open to hearing different people's position on it. And I would like to do some research on it before saying that. I'm not opposed to the law itself or the policies itself, but I would definitely have to look into things like, if we open up a lounge, would it bring any safety issues? Where would the lounge be? There's just so many things that I would have to consider. So with that said, I'll leave my answer right there.
Thank you. Next up, Jen.
Hello. So I am a member of the Communities That Care marijuana work group, and we've been having discussions about this for a long time. The first question it would be, would the dispensary and the lounge be in the same area, or would they be in two different locations? We really have to meet with all the town and village board members, planning and zoning board members, and really figure out, what is this going to look like? So I'm not quite sure the configuration of adding a lounge to an already legal dispensary. I'd like to talk to the police department. As Barbara said, we do have to just check, make sure that everyone is safe in our community. But I don't really have an opinion of it. I actually have not visited a dispensary or a lounge, so I'd really do some research and actually go visit some that already exist and see what they look like, and see, talk to wherever they're located, the board members in that community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, next, Lynn.
Hi, I am a child of the 70s, so marijuana was very prevalent when I was in college. I am preliminarily in favor of cannabis. And I think that a lounge and or just a dispensary would work. However, there's some very important things I would like to see put in any law should Ossining decide to grant it. One is which is location. I don't want it to be a place where children are walking by on their way to school. I remember buying alcohol at 17 years of age, back when 18 was the legal age. So I would want to be very careful to place it somewhere that would not have readily available access to a kid who maybe could show that he or she was older than the age. As to the lounges, again, I think we have to be careful. We don't want anything that's going to look too honky-tonk, but a sophisticated lounge, I don't have a general problem with. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next, Caroline Curvin, and you will be the last person to answer this first question.
Great, thanks. I feel New York State's decision to legalize cannabis is a great first step, as are the town's recent decisions. And yes, I think the town and village must work together on this issue. But personally, I would like to do some more research into what issues other communities who are ahead of us on this have faced as they legalize dispensaries and lounges, and learn what better choices we can make to serve and protect our community and our children best. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for answering that first question. Kemi, you're going to be asking our next question. And after Kemi asks the question, then Fawzia, you're going to be the first person to respond. Kemi, I think you're muted. There you go.
Hi, good evening. The question is, okay, so the town and the village have a number of municipal agreements in sharing services. How would you work to ensure they continue? And are there any changes you would like to see?
Thank you for that question. This is probably the most complicated question for somebody who really isn't aware of how a lot of this in the past has functioned. I do understand that from past reports and you know that this is an issue that has been ongoing, and that in fact many services have been joined, many offices have been joined, and I think that when you do that, you can definitely increase efficiency and reduce expenses and maybe provide better services to residents. But I would have to know and learn more, because in some cases, you know, maybe there will be inequity in the kind of service that is provided to, say, village versus town residents, or vice versa. And also, I do think I would like to learn more about why Project Forward, you know, proposals did not actually get voted in, because I do think having civil service
thank you, Fawzia.
If rules apply and not elected officials might be a good idea. Thank you.
All right. Next up to respond to this question is Barbara Robinson. I believe you're muted.
Okay, can you read the question again, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The village and the town have a number of intermunicipal agreements in sharing of services. How would you work to ensure that they continue? And are there any changes you would like to see?
Well, I would work to see that they continue by being involved and conversating with each municipality to see what areas needed improvement. We're working well. So depending on my conversations and my work would be determined what I would propose to be changed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, Jen Tawil.
So first of all, the village and town of Ossining, they've already done a great job because we already combined the courts and the clerk and the police. And everyone was nervous about it, but it's all turned out to be a great idea. And so I definitely approve and support shared services because everyone always complains that the taxes are high. And so sharing services saves money. And so that's the best part of it. You know, I think I would also try to see what else can we share. I know that the town of Cortland, they have investigated or gone forward with sharing possibly their public works or highway departments. I don't know what that would look like, but that's something that we can maybe look to Cortland and see what they've done. You know, do we need economic studies in order to do more combinations? I'd have to really look into that. Garbage pickup. Can we also coordinate garbage? That means buying more trucks. We'd have to maybe do a economic study and see what will that cost? What's the cost benefit of that? So,
Thank you.
but a resounding yes.
Thank you, Jen. Next up is Lynn.
Hi, I too am in favor, as it seems like most people have shared services. But where I have a concern is when we're sharing the services, are we getting an adequate number of people in those services per our population? I would hate to see a situation where it became so crowded with expansions that the employees couldn't adequately take care of all of us. For instance, in the garbage area, the town outside has their own garbage pickup. It's extra money, but do we have the money to buy the extra trucks? I think that would be a great idea, putting DPW together with them. But again, I don't know enough hardcore evidence to make that kind of a decision at this point, but would love to be able to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And back up to Caroline Curvin.
Great, thanks. This is sharing services is a question that I've been hearing discussed ever since I moved here 22 years ago. And I know some progress has been made over the years, but as taxes continue to rise in the town, it seems more urgent than ever to streamline and formalize efficiencies between the town and the village. Off the top of my head, a specific change I think we should formalize is we should formalize the IMA between the village police and the town so that we don't have to continually renew it, or make the town and the village all one police district. But there's a lot of work to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. And Robert Daraio, you haven't gotten to answer this one yet, have you?
No.
Okay, thank you.
The village and the town have done an extraordinarily good job on municipal agreements. As a trustee, I worked on a number of the intermunicipal agreements, so I'm very familiar with it. There's still work to be done. I think the parks departments, I think the DPW and the highway department could be merged. I would love to work on that because it would combine CSCA workers with Teamsters. And in the television business that I came out of, I did that work when a neighbor shop and an IASI shop merged, and I worked on the merging of those two agreements so that there was no loss or no damage to any of the workers. Making sure that the workers aren't hurt by these agreements is important, and making sure that the people of Ossining get value for their dollar. These are important things, and I'd be excited to continue to work on that.
All righty. And now we move on to question 3, and that is going to be asked by Omar Lopez. And Barbara Robinson, you are going to be the first person to respond.
Thank you, Victoria. Good evening, everyone. The question is, what is your perspective on development in the unincorporated town?
Well, when I think of development, first thing that comes to mind is the work that we do. What we would have to consider the climate, and we have to consider sustainability. So in my proposal or work that I would do with that, I would say that when you look at a town, you look at what it needs as far as development, but you have to keep in mind that we also need green space, open space, fresh air. So I think those can be considered together and it could work, but it would just take someone who's willing to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jen, you're next.
Hi. So I am a condominium resident. I live in the woods on Hawks Avenue. And to my chagrin, a huge monstrosity is built across the street from us now, 2 apartment buildings. I don't think it was meant for that property to be that way, but so be it. I really think development has to take into account what the residents want. I think we've had a disconnect between, boards have public hearings, but then people don't know about them, they don't hear about them, and then something happens and they complain. And so I really want to work on better communication between the residents and being on the town board. Development for me has to have some type of forethought about, how green are the materials. We have to take into effect, if you lived in a condo, you see they're not built very well. Forget about if they're green or environmentally sound. And also, I really have an interest about what's going to happen on the Stony Lodge property. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Next up, Lynn.
I've been a big proponent of different sorts of development in the unincorporated areas. For instance, I live down the street from the monstrosity that Jen just spoke about and was vocal at the meetings about what they were planning to do there. This did not look like I was expecting it to look from the initial drawings that we were given. I worked with both the planning and the zoning board in the village of Ossining back when, and I know how exhausted the town people were trying to keep up with all these condos that were being built one right after another out here at the edge of the town. Practically, we're over the border. You go out my driveway in my complex, and like 15 feet, it's another town. I think it was sort of like the area we live in, the town forgot. And I would like to see more of again with the marijuana. That may be the way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Carolyn Curvin.
Thank you. I am not anti-development, but I think that it needs to be done carefully, sustainably, and with a commitment to keeping the integrity of the surrounding neighborhoods intact. We also need to look at what development will do to our infrastructure and the effect it will have on traffic and overcrowding in our schools as we move forward. I too will bring up the monstrosity on Hawks Avenue, 87 Hawks Avenue, also known as Parth Knowles, as a case in point. Not going to continue. We all know what it's about at this point, but it wasn't a good choice then. Still not a good choice now. And the townspeople of Ossining protested it and were.
I completely agree with Carolyn. Nobody can say it better than she just did. We need to be a lot more careful and considerate in looking at development. I don't believe the highest best use of a piece of property is filling every square inch with sellable or rentable space. We need to preserve green space. We need to preserve the architectural integrity of our neighborhoods. We need sustainability. We need to be more green. And in the town outside specifically, there are a lot of wetlands and we need to protect them. What we do here affects everybody in the county, not just us. We don't live in a vacuum. It's really important. On the zoning board, I see this all the time. Constantly getting pushed to push the edges of our rules and give variance after variance. And it's changing the way Ossining looks, and we need to be more careful moving forward.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Fawzia?
So I do think that the 3 E's that are mentioned in a lot of reports of sustainable development, right? Environment, economy, and equity are really things that need to resonate with us and that we should be thinking about. Because for investment in development to be really sustainable, I feel that it does have to be based in principles of justice, so what its social impact will be, and I think to that extent we should to make that happen maybe think about lobbying for an independent public ratings agency that could help us think through as a town what that would look like, what that kind of development would look like. And for me, the topmost, other than walking areas, bike paths, and so on, is affordable housing. Governor Hochul floated ADU legislation, I believe, in her last state address. And I think we need to consider that in the unincorporated town.
Thank you very much. All righty. Thank you, everybody, for your responses to that question. We have one more question for our town council members before we hear your final statements. And the person who is going to deliver that question is Fern Quesada. The first person who's going to respond is Jen Fields-Tawil. Fern.
Hey, everyone. So what are the 3 most important issues you will prioritize as a town council member?
All right, so first of all, I just want to say that there are people suffering from the pandemic, both on a personal level and businesses. And that's one thing that I've been privy to being in Sandy's office. And so I really like to make sure that everybody in the town and village even are made whole. The pandemic is having an extreme, everyone is in crisis, even their mental health especially. I do want to focus on the zoning of where this possible dispensary is going to be located. Again, just with safety and with protecting our local kids. And I also feel like I would be a very good asset with working with the Office of Cannabis Management. I'm actually attending the Mid-Hudson Valley meeting that's going to be on February 16th. And I just want to keep learning and educating myself, whatever that needs to be, just any decisions made for the town board.
Thank you very much. And after Jen, we have Lynn.
I would prioritize on trying to attract businesses and stores to the town of Ossining. I think if we could get people to come into Ossining, they would see what we have here, much like we did when I was a little girl. I mean, it was an exciting outing to go to Ossining. The stores were cute. My grandmother could go to Modern Mode's dress shop, and I could buy a regulation Miss Francis School toy at the local 5 and Dime over here, which you couldn't get anywhere else. If we could do something to make us more of a destination, I would like to see that happen. First of all, it would help lower our taxes. Second of all, it would make us a mecca for people to come into town and maybe develop more aspects of this place. Thank you.
Thank you. After Lynn, we have Caroline.
Okay. My 3 priorities would be concerned with development and densification of the unincorporated town, what's happening now, Stony Lodge, and what's coming in the future. How can we make these inevitable developments improve our community and make things better for all of us? My second priority would be sharing services. It's how can we streamline and formalize efficiencies? And then my third priority would be communication, being an accessible conduit for the concerns of all residents, but with the special attention to the unincorporated town who currently have no one on the board who actually lives there. I know that many of us feel that we are the town outside and that our concerns are often marginalized or simply not heard. So those would be what I would prioritize.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Next, Bob.
Hi. Okay. The pandemic wreaked havoc on people's health, their finances, their mental health. It's been a tragedy. 2 weeks ago, I lost my brother-in-law to COVID. My nephew was on a ventilator for 8 weeks. He's finally home. My wife was out of work for 1.5 years. So we need to help businesses, make them whole. We need to help people cope with all of the after effects of COVID. We need sustainable, safe development. And we need more intermunicipal agreements in order to keep our taxes down, while at the same time bringing in more commercial businesses rather than so much more housing. The commercial tax rate going down will keep the residential tax rates lower.
Thank you very much. And next up, Fawzia.
So as an educator and a person who's had a great and a long and abiding passion for the arts, I think one of my priorities in order to make, in fact, Ossining ever more attractive and sustainable, as many people have said, is to really reach out to and figure out ways to link several of the arts and culture initiatives and places like the Bethany Arts Initiative with the Westchester Collaborative Theater Company, and then have them do work with places like the Hudson Link and the Prison Museum System to really create arts that bring different and diverse sectors of our Ossining community together, building bridges between different income, racial, socially diverse groups in the community. So that is like a major priority.
Thank you, Fawzia. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't worry, you still have an opportunity to
Okay, good.
us
Thank you.
after. And our last respondent to this question is Barbara Robinson.
Yes, the three topics that I would like to focus on is voting rights, because voting rights, maintaining and strengthening our democracy is so important to me. It allows people of different economic backgrounds and ethnicities to be able to really participate fully in our democracy. So I'm for that, definitely. I would like to also name promoting a green community. Without clean water, clean air to breathe, that sustains life. That sustains our earth. So without an earth, without clean water, where would we be? So I would look to that. And also I'm pro-education. I feel education is the key out of poverty. If you're in poverty, it's the key to moving forward. Knowledge is power. Oh,
Thank you
sorry.
so much,
Thank
Barbara.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. I hate to interrupt such a nice positive message, but the time is up. All right, that's everyone, right? That's 4 questions. Everyone got to answer them. And so now it is time for everyone to give their 1-minute closing statement. And you'll remember, forget about who you were just after. Now it's who you were just before that you're going to follow, because we're going up the line. So I'll read the list. Lynn's going to go first, then Jen, Barbara, Fawzia, Bob, and then Caroline. So Lynn, are you ready?
I'm ready. As better ready as I'll be.
You're up first.
I've been a resident of the town of Ossining since 2004. And I've always been active in my local community vis-a-vis the condominium association, both here and where I've lived in the past. I would like the opportunity to try to work to bring some of our municipal services together and to try to encourage development in the town. I've looked at everybody else's resumes. They are all far more impressive than mine. I have no prior political service, but I think being a novice can also be an advantage because I bring a fresh perspective to the town, having no contact before with anything political other than through the Town of Ossining Condominium Association when we banded together to fight homestead. I'm a hard worker and I'm planning on retiring from my current part-time job in the spring, so I should have plenty of time to devote to help all of the residents of Ossining. Thank you.
Right. Jen?
So whether you know me or not, you should know that I'm a problem solver and I'm a collaborator. I don't make decisions hastily. Before I was with Sandy, I was an investigator for 25 years. I research and I listen and I determine the answer after speaking to all parties involved. I'm also flexible and I'm able to change my point of view. I really would love to be on the member of the town board. I want to represent the unincorporated area as well as the condominiums. I've been asked to run by many people for many years and it wasn't the right time for me. And so I just put my name in now. I just want to also say I loved everyone's answers, my co-candidates. I think we're all great. And I just think that, you know, the town board really needs somebody from the unincorporated area. There hasn't been someone in probably a decade. And I just want to thank everybody for tonight. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next is Barbara Robinson.
Well, again, I would like to thank everyone. Really, truly, this was such a pleasure. You know, I was a little nervous at first, but now that I've participated in this, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from you all already. So if given the endorsement, given the seat, I will work tirelessly to benefit the residents of Ossining. My skills in my work in public service, along with the skills of engagement and research and meeting people where they're at is what I can bring to the table. So thank you again.
Thank you, Barbara. And next is Fawzia.
So I'm just overwhelmed and humbled by meeting all of you and hearing from all of you. And just thank you for including me on this very august roster. I think that for me, being, you know, I want to listen and learn really. And so that's what I would spend a lot of my time doing during this year if I were to get the endorsement. And I would like very much to find ways to connect our work with issues that have to do with education in the schools. Very concerned about you know, the attacks on educators around the country, and one up in Carmel around questions of critical race theory, which I think is a deeply misunderstood concept. And so I would love to be able to hold those kinds of public education that would promote our, that's what I would spend time doing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Robert Daraio. You're muted, Bob.
When I first moved to Ossining, and Pearl, who lived across the street, dragged me out of the construction I was doing to have me sign a voter registration form and become a Democrat. We used to have to beg people to be district leaders and beg people to run for office. It is such a wonderful thing to see today. This group of candidates, Ossining wins whoever gets this job. Every single person here brings a passion and experience that will serve Ossining well. So I will support whatever decision that the Ossining committee makes. I don't believe in primaries. So whoever the committee picks, I will campaign for. And I'm not going anywhere. So I'll step up again next time if I don't get it this time. I'm proud to be an Ossining Democrat.
Thank you, Bob. And last but not least, Caroline Curvin.
Thanks. Thanks for this opportunity to speak to you all. Thanks to everyone who stepped up to run. And thanks to all of you who have made this evening run so smoothly. I just want to reiterate that I am running to speak for the residents of the unincorporated town who have currently no representation on their town board, and as well as the residents of the rest of the town. I'll bring a willingness to learn and to listen to the board. I'm organized, I'm curious, and I'm easy to talk to. I have a deep interest in the history of Ossining, and helped village trustee Dana White with the recent Ossining Democratic History Trivia fundraiser. And I feel that this knowledge can be helpful in developing policies and planning for the future of the town, because we can and we should learn from the past and allow it to help us inform our way forward. I look forward to putting my skills to work for the town of Ossining, and hope I can count on your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. And thank you to everyone who we got to hear from this evening, everyone who brought this evening together. And it was really an inspirational evening. I think I'm not alone in that sentiment. Yeah, Christina, if you could bring Thomasina over as a panelist, as we say goodbye and thank you to all of the town candidates, a lot of familiar faces and new faces as well. It's really exciting. Great to see such a vibrant Ossining Town Democratic Committee with new people getting involved, and some of us sticking around for a while and continuing to plug along on behalf of the community. So our chairwoman, Thomasina Lately Brown, is going to join us for a few words, and we have some dates, so get your calendars out. It's going to be an exciting few weeks ahead of us. Thanks, everyone. There's a little bit of a lag. I know Christina's probably been furiously moving people over. Thomasina, does Thomasina need to turn her camera on when she becomes a panelist? She may need to, I don't know. We'll see soon. We'll see in a moment. And I'll just take a look here in the chat. There were a few remarks here. If you're not looking at the chat, thank you to everyone for your feedback, which is all really nice, positive stuff. Olga, development is great and not at the cost of quality of life for the current residents. So glad this was a question tonight. Howard spoke to the panelist and said, people who choose to live here do so based on the beauty of our community and its natural attributes. Development done without sensitivity to our core community will spoil the essence of what makes Ossining such a great place to live. Rika commented that there were really great questions and thanked everyone who is running for town council. Fawzia thanked everyone for the opportunity. Didn't I just see Thomasina there for a second? Where'd she go?
Don't ask me what happened.
I hear you. I saw you. There you are. Okay, Thomasina. All right, there's some more comments there, but now Thomasina is here, and it's nice to see so many people even engaged in the chat. But Thomasina, it's time for you to give remarks and tell us your thoughts this month.
Okay, how many participants did we have tonight?
At the most, we had over 50. So now we still have 43 attendees, and there are 4 of us over here in the panelists. So that's 47 at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to say thank you to the panelists, the people who have applied for different positions. We appreciate you coming out. I don't know who will get the position. We don't know that, of course. But anyway, if you don't succeed in this one, I hope you would think about coming to our committee meetings and helping out and working with us. And every year we have an election. So if you don't get it this time, maybe you'll get it the next time, but don't give up, keep working. And Victoria and her committee, you did a great job. And I appreciate you taking control of it and doing, and getting everybody together. So I guess that's about it for tonight. The meeting is, the next meeting is February, what date?
So we're going to have the endorsement meeting. So for current district leaders, please, if you are at all able to attend next Tuesday, this is an unusual night for us because next Monday is Valentine's Day. We didn't think you wanted to spend Valentine's Day in an endorsement meeting, so we pushed it a day. But Tuesday is the town board meeting, so we're doing it early, much earlier than we usually do, it at 6 o'clock. If you're not able to attend at 6 o'clock, We will be sending you a proxy. Any Democrat can carry your proxy so that you are able to have your vote counted. I already see in the chat, Jennifer's not able to be there on the 15th. I'm very sorry. You're not able to be there on the 15th. We have really struggled with dates, and I'll just work backwards so people can, if you visualize the calendar, the week of, so March 1st is the date that we are supposed to be able to begin collecting signatures. That's a Tuesday. So we would need to meet the week before that. Unfortunately, the week before that is school vacation week. It's President's Day on that Monday, and a lot of people have off for school vacation week. So the week before that is, okay, so it seems, I'm really glad we got to hear so much from our town candidates tonight, because at least 2 of them are not going to be able to be there on Tuesday when we do the endorsement vote. But fortunately, we heard from you all tonight, and we'll keep that in mind as we structure the agenda for next Tuesday. I know it's difficult, Elizabeth. I'm sorry, Liz. It is difficult. We tried really hard to find a date when we can all be here, when we thought might work for people. So Tuesday the 15th at 6 o'clock is where we landed. It's definitely not ideal. So anybody who can be there, please plan to be there, especially if you're a district leader. Even if you are not a district leader, as long as you are a registered Democrat, if you're able to attend, you can carry a proxy for some of the people who may not be able to attend. And I will send an email with the proxies and with an explanation and about that. And if anybody needs to call for, if this is new for you and you need more explanation, you can. Okay, so at least 3 of the town candidates are not able to attend on Tuesday, Thomasina. Hopefully we'll have enough district leaders that will have a quorum that we can do our endorsement vote. I know it's not ideal, but we thought that was better than Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
But that Friday at 6 o'clock, Ryan and I will host a petition training session. So anyone who is a new district leader, we welcome you to join us Friday at 6 p.m. I'll send out the link for that. That's Friday the 18th, 6 p.m. We'll do a petition training session. And anyone who is an experienced district leader, yes, that's true. Anyone can carry petitions. If you're a registered Democrat, you can carry petitions, whether you're a district leader yet or not. We are finalizing the list of election districts with all of our new district leaders. It looks like we have enough spots for everyone who expressed interest in being a district leader. We are so pleased to have so many new people coming on, but with new people coming on, they're gonna need some help. So we'll do a virtual training session. Then when you pick up your petition before March 1st, Ryan can give you a quick walkthrough of what you're being provided with. But we also thought it might be nice, any experienced district leaders, if you are an experienced district leader, those of us who are veterans in the committee, if you would be willing to volunteer to take a walk with a new district leader in their election district and help give them a little in-person tutorial as they go door to door, that would be really helpful. Yes, I will be sending out all of this information in emails to everyone. If you do not currently get our emails, please drop it in the chat. Please drop your email address in the chat so that I can add you to the list if you'd like to be included in future emails from the Ossining Town Democratic Committee, our Ossining Town Democratic Committee emails, and you would like to, go ahead and drop your email in the chat, or you can just email ossining-democrats@gmail.com. That's ossining-democrats@gmail.com. Also, I'll remind everybody that tonight's meeting was recorded and will be available on YouTube. So if you tuned in late, thank you, Liz. I hope there are going to be more people. Thank you, Jen, folks who are interested in walking. I think we were particularly hoping that veteran district leaders could walk with new district leaders in their new districts to help them with the process. Great, Lynn, I have you on my list now. Great. Thomasina, was there anything else that we're forgetting?
I want to, for our district leaders, we have to endorse the county court judge. There's Pleasantville is going to have a forum with the candidates, all 7 of them. And if you want to join in for their meeting, Bruce Campbell, who is the chair for that, sent me the information that you can join in. It's going to be a Zoom meeting. So I'll give you the information, and if you want to hear the candidates that's running for county court, you can go to their meeting on what night? On Wednesday night, the 9th. So I'll give you the ID number and the passcode.
Yeah, if you email that to me, I'll circulate that to everyone in the committee. It sounds like it's on, if it's the 9th, then that's Wednesday, this Wednesday evening.
Right.
And that would be really great if you can see all 7 of the county court candidates.
Right. Yeah, they all will be there for that. So.
I'm just looking in the chat, Thomasina. There's everybody who volunteered. Thank you very much. I'm going to try and get all your names on a list. Thank you for the experienced district leaders who've already volunteered. I'll start the list now, and we'll figure out how to connect you with some of our new folks. And I'll just try and answer the questions that I see here. Rika asked, when are petitions due back? Ryan tells me that he would like all the petitions back on April 3rd. They're due 2 days after that. So you'll have from March 1st to April 3rd. Assuming all goes according to plan. We know it's a strange year with redistricting, but it looks like the district maps are going to be challenged in court, but that doesn't necessarily mean we won't be moving forward as expected. So we expect the first petition signatures to be collected March 1st. So you have your petitions at least the day before that, and they'll be turned back in on April 3rd. So if you're going away for part of March, keep that in mind, get your signatures early. Early signatures are better if you're in a race that's going to be contested, the assembly race, candidates may be contesting them. So we want good, strong early signatures for our candidates. Tuesday evenings on an teach. Okay. I know there are some folks who are having trouble with the date. I mean, I feel like this conversation has been going along for a long time to try and have a date. So we'll revisit it and see if there's anything else we can come up with. But just so folks know, we did go through a lot of potential date scenarios and keep coming up with reasons why every night doesn't work for a bunch of people. Reminder, everyone can carry petitions if you're a district leader. I mean, if you're just a registered Democrat, so other members of your family, friends who just want to carry a petition, they can. Some of you who are becoming district leaders have already done it before you even becoming a district leader. Susie Ross asked, do we know whether the number of signatures needed has changed? I don't know for sure.
We don't know.
Brian's not on the call, right? We don't know yet, Thomasina, if that changed. No. There was a reason we couldn't do it Thursday. I can't remember why. There was otherwise we would have done it on Thursday, the 17th. We'll revisit that and see if that makes more sense at this point. But right now it's still the 15th unless we can come up with something better. It's just no date's going to work for everybody. Yes, we will send out the information, Fawzia, with dates of trainings and petitions. We will. I just want everybody to know that was coming. Jen, thank you for volunteering to walk with someone. You're offering in your district. We're hoping that people will walk with the new folks in their districts. It's so challenging to get signatures the first time. We're trying to help train them and give them a little boost for their first few signatures there. I see Liz is volunteering. So Fawzia lives right near you, Jen. So she was actually saying she'd be happy to go to your neighborhood. Great. Looks like we paired you up already. Great. You guys are making my job easy. I don't even have to figure it out. You're figuring it out yourself. I will share the YouTube link as soon as it's up, but we did establish an Ossining Town Democratic Committee YouTube channel. If you went to YouTube and searched for Ossining Town Democratic Committee, you could probably subscribe. There's nothing on it to see right now. And Eric Blaha, the next volunteer to walk with new district leaders. I don't have the link yet. If you're asking Liz for the link to YouTube, I don't have it yet, but I would definitely include it with an email this week as soon as it's set up. Jen, this is the email that you're putting. I think you're just sharing with people in general. Oh, you're sharing with Fawzia. Great. If you want to change districts, when do you do that? Well, you do that 2 months ago when you were asked, Rika. So we just spent hours over the weekend looking at all of the districts, but Rika, nothing's final yet. So go ahead and email me at ossininggdemocrats@gmail.com, and Thomasina and Ryan and I will be finalizing everything, I guess, this week, because next week we're going to have to share with everybody. So Rika, go ahead and tell us if some people we have had a few people who have asked to change districts, usually because they want to be in their own neighborhood if they can. So if that's a possibility or an option, then we do try to accommodate people when possible. Omar Lopez asked for a morning meeting. I assume you mean a weekend morning meeting. We did consider weekends. A lot of people were not interested in weekends. Again, don't know if the number of signatures needed changed. Thanks, everybody. I will send the YouTube link. Rika, another volunteer. Thank you, Rika, for volunteering to walk with someone in their district. When will you know where your districts are? The plan is that we will distribute that when we have our endorsement meeting, right, Thomasina? Which right now is scheduled for Tuesday. Okay. All right. Very good. Thanks, everyone. Anything else, Thomasina? People are starting to say goodnight. That was all all the questions.
No, I think that's it. Again, I say thank you to all my district leaders and our guests, and to the panelists. Thank you for asking our questions. Okay, that's about it.
Yeah, I'll just say thank you very much, folks. You didn't see on the screen where Marlene Cheatham was very helpful in putting together the questions. Steve Felsenfeld is on the committee. He wasn't able to be here tonight. And I guess, and Kemi was on the committee as well, but you did get to see her on the screen tonight. So thanks everybody on the Q&A planning committee. It was a lot of fun. I think this is the second time we've done it and it went smoothly again. So it's working really well for us, I think. Thanks, Thomasina.
Okay, thank you, Victoria.
Good night.
Good night.
Christina, do you want to end recording?
To Christina.
Yeah, Christina. I should have said your name. I'm sorry. Everybody you're so present that I forgot that I should have. Yes, you were the other member of the planning committee and super key member of the planning committee. Thank you. All right. So Christina will help us put it up on the YouTube channel and we'll share that out. Thanks.
Okay, good night.